Okay, so good morning, everybody, or good afternoon or good evening. So my name is Victor. So I'm going to be your anchor for this training. So if you're new to the channel, you don't forget to subscribe, or you have questions you can ask on the channel. Now, designing websites, there's what to call information architecture. So information architecture, planning your website, doing wireframe. There's what we also call UI UX. So there are several materials that have to do with planning, structure of a website. There are quite a lot of materials on that, right? If you explore the internet, as you grow, while you're trying to plan, while you're trying to structure your site, there's great importance in you making sure that you understand what the structure of your site is going to be like. We're saying that if we want to structure our website, if we want to build our website, how should we do that? So should we just start building a website? If we're using Bootstrap, we're using WordPress, we're using Joomla, we're doing backend, maybe PHP or JavaScript, whatever kind of language, irrespective of how we're building a website, it doesn't matter. There must be some kind of structure. There must be some kind of layout of our site. And if we look at in the previous content, if we looked at the workflow of how a website should be, we typically said the first thing the designer wants to do is to do a discovery meeting. After the discovery meeting, there's a needs assessment. After there's a needs assessment by the designer, then you go ahead and do some research. After you do your research, if a UI designer or UX designer, you can go ahead and start doing what we consider as the site map or site frame and site wireframe. So the site map is going to be something like this, right? This is what the site map looks like the structure of the home, about, contact, our services, all of that. Then whereas the wireframe is going to be something like is going to be something like this. So this is what you call a wireframe. So like a sketch of how the site is going to look like. So it's important that for any website that you are building, whether you're going to be using Bootstrap, as in our case now, for some of us that are either learning physically remote or doing custom classes, you will want to have some kind of structure to your website. You don't just start dumping the content on the website. No, you have to plan it out. Now, in trying to do that, you need to now give your client is now going to review it. Your client is going to say, okay, I like it like this, I don't like it like this, all of that. Then once the client have approved the structure, and at times, depending on how the project is, if the project is a very small project, you might not need to go ahead to do all of these sketches, but it's important. But if you consider a project too small, you can go ahead and start picking a template. Take, for instance, if we're using Bootstrap, we can go to Made with Bootstrap. There are so many Bootstrap template sites. I love using this one. You can go with Get Bootstrap, the original Bootstrap 5 sites. If you go to examples, you are going to see quite a lot of structures, right? I can start considering my interface by showing my client this. My client is going to see this. I'm going to say, okay, do I like this? Right? So if the client likes this, we cannot consider building something like this or adjusting something like this, right? So with our knowledge of HTML, Bootstrap, we should be able to do some adjustment to this particular site to suit the needs of the client for mostly some basic sites. Now, it can be a blog, right? It can be an album, so something of this nature, right? A blog section. It can be a personal site. Look at this live demo. It can be a personal site, right? So, but if you see each of these sites, they have a form of layout. They have a form of structure. They are not just in isolation. So why is this site not loading well? Something is wrong. Let me look for another personal site. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, so So look at this personal site. So if somebody wants to build a personal site, so you see you have something like this, right? So this can be worked on, this can be edited. Are we together? Now, but before you go ahead and in choosing whatever kind of template, your information architecture is very important. So what is information architecture? So we want to have just a second. I'll just scan through some of the most important aspects of this document. So the normal structure of your website is that you're going to define scope, right? A little bit of project management here. So scope has to do with the description, the details of the project. Then you start doing some information architecture analysis. You start asking yourself, what kind of content am I going to have? Which kind of video, which kind of audio, which kind of images, which kind of textual content? Is there profile? Is there company profile? What kind of services, what kind of products, all of those kind of things. You want to have them, you want to create them. Then you want to have some kind of mock-up or some kind of structure, like we talked about here, right? Then you want to start creating your content. So once you create the content upon the client's approval, the plan, the client now develops the content. Ordinarily, the client should be the one developing content. Except the client is contracting you to like work on content. It's a very simplistic small project that you can always go ahead and create the content while the client approves. The next thing you want to do is to have some form of mock-up, right? You want to like demo the site. You want to put in the content on the demo or on a template, then the client reviews it. Then if you need to do any kind of coding, if you need to do any kind of backend, if you need to create some kind of forms, if you need to do some kind of validation, you can go ahead and do that. Then populate the content. Then the client now does acceptance test, UAT, right? The client tends to approve or disapprove any component of the site. Then, of course, you now do quality assurance. You now do cross-browser testing. Browsers these days are kind of better off compared to browsers earlier on, right? You want to check on browsers. You also want to check on platforms. So you can do cross-browser, cross-platform testing. So you can test the website on mobile to see what it looks like. Or like I was working on the site 2 days ago, I found out that on mobile, an image that looked very nice didn't look on desktop, didn't look very nice on mobile. So you have to do mobile responsiveness. So you have to check on browsers, check on different, whether it's mobile, whether it's tablet, whether it's PC, laptop, on a large screen. You want to see what the site looks like. So after that is done, then you want to now launch the website. So the focus of this class is to tell you what information architecture is about. And let us go through some of the kind of what's it called? Some of the kind of things you need to put ahead in trying to plan the structure of your site. Now, if you need to create information architecture, one thing you should consider is what, why, and who. How? Then what's next? So let's examine them. So information architecture refers to the structure, organization of a website. It describes the way in which the different pages of a site relate to one another. So you don't just plan out a website without considering how page A is going to be related to page B. If you come on a website, you're going to be linking between pages, right? So if I come to something like, let me say Claridine Consult, right? So there should be a way I can navigate each sections, right? So if I say get started, where does it go to, right? It comes here. So this is about us, right? If I say I want to make an appointment, right? If I say I want to fill a form. So if I say I want to go to services, if I say I want to go to about, if I say I want to fill a form that has to do with healthcare training, right? So how each of the pages links to each other matters a lot in information architecture. So this involves assessing existing content, organizing the pages, providing clue to help the use for us to be able to use the site efficiently. Then we develop a navigation structure. So you want to develop a way in which people can access the website. Have you been to a website where to look out for a particular information is very hard, right? So it's very hard because you are looking for something, but you cannot find it. Why? Because of the structure. So at times we call that user experience. So for you to get user experience, you have to do a very good UI. You have to have a nice interface, and there must be relationship amongst the different components of the interface. So it starts from a sitemap. So this is what a sitemap looks like I said. So you need to plan the site. Say, okay, I'm going to have home. I'm going to have some general info like the contacts, like the mission, like the direction. Sorry, a little bit. Let me zoom this out. Right? I need to have some importance notice. Let's say it's a school website. So because here you need to look at a different audience. At times when you're planning information architecture, you want to look at internal audience, external audience. Who is the website for internally, as in internal? So because that's why you see some websites that are going to tell you emails. That's so that it's only an in-house person that is going to want to access emails, right? So there should be a link in that website from where that person can go and access his or official email. Because not everybody will remember what the official link for them to access their emails. With time, people are going to be able to do that. But you want to provide a nice flow so that someone does not come to the website and is trying to look out for something. Now, you also have external audience. You have partners. You have users. Then you have prospective user. So if I want to write something like this, so in my stakeholders, I'm going to have internal users, external users, pros. So my internal users I can classify this as staff. I can now have users, staff, or member of staff. I can now have users. I can have prospective users. Hope I spell this word. Prospective users, partners, right? So just for a school website, for instance, or a bank website, for instance, partners may be investors and the rest. So for a school website, for instance, now I'm going to have staff or admin, right? You must be able to supply information to them. Then you should be able to provide where a leeway where they can also go log in and do what they need to do. You need also for external users, for people that are not they're not necessarily going to be users, so to say, right? So they might not buy from you, but they want to search out information, just informational stuff, and get away. Then for your users, what kind of information? That's why if you're applying your information architecture, you need to consider all of these different types of audiences, then plan your content that way. And the content here refers to audio, video, images, and text, right? So the text is going to involve company profile, it's going to include articles, it's going to include a lot of things. The images have to do with maybe products, maybe staff, reviews, right? This can also include reviews. Then video can be maybe staff, products. So you just need to do a lot of thinking. So this can be a podcast or this can be a converted video. So to plan a very well-structured site, you need to look at information architecture. You need to say, okay, how am I going to present this content in such a way that is going to make sense to all of the different kinds of audience? So when you're planning that site, so you're going to lead people according to who, right? Who they are, according to also why they might be visiting a particular page, and of course, what they are looking for, what kind of content they are looking for. So very, very key, very, very important. And in doing that, your stakeholders are very primary, are very key to your making a final decision. Okay, let's look at more stuff, respect to information architecture. So once you have planned the sitemap, the next thing you want to do is your wireframe. So like I said earlier on, your wireframe looks like this. right? So I'm going to have my logo. And it's from this wireframe you get to theme, right? So it's the wireframe that tells you how the theme is going to look like. If I want to give you an example, I can show you something like this. Let me see if I can see it. I can show you something like this. This is a wireframe, right, for a site. Are you there? Then this is the theme or the UI for the same site. So it starts from your sitemap. So it starts from something like this. Sorry. It starts from something like this, right? I'm going to have home. I'm going to have the main sections. I'm going to have some inner sections and the rest, which is still based on the content. But it's going to be based on what you have here. Then you now plan for the content. Or you first research. Once you research, you check. Let's say if you want to build a boutique site or a learning management system or a school portal, or you want to build a small business website, or you want to build a consulting website, the very first thing you want to do as a designer is to go ahead to do what? Research. After you have done this assessment of the client, you go ahead and do research. So you can say top e-commerce websites, top boutique websites, top, or just Google for whatever kind of website you want to build. Check out quite a lot of them. Get some inspiration. Then you can now plan your sitemap. For your sitemap, you can now go ahead with your wireframe. For your wireframe, you now talk about your theme. So if it's a little bit of a large project, you can do the sitemap. You can now start making the what? The wireframe. So this was done in Figma. So you can start using Figma. If you're a designer, if you're not a designer, you can give a designer to do this. Then from this, you now get this. From this, you can now start using maybe Bootstrap or any front-end technology to now start building this, right? So if you check very well, you see what you have here is what you have here. Are you seeing this section? Yeah. See the footer? So the point I'm trying to make is that you don't just start building. You need to do what? You need to plan. You need to have structure. You need to have layout. Then you cannot pick a theme, even if it is the smallest form of project, right? So it also helps the client to also provide everything that you need, so that once you have everything you need, you do what? You just start building, right? So I love this stuff here. So information architecture is what? Context, then the user. So the content, word, what's it called? PowerPoint, videos, audios, articles, whatever. Then the context. So what's the user trying to look out for? How would the user want to use that particular content? Do I want to download it? Do I want to share it? Do I want to, so at times we say call to action, CTAs. So do I want to fill a form? Same content, but you have different ways it can be engaged with. So you need to think about it. Do you just carry your content and just throw into your website? No. Then you need to also consider the user. Who is going to be consuming this content? What value is it going to provide? I've seen somebody that says, okay, I was searching for something. I looked at this website, look at this website, look at this website. This website was a little bit confusing for me. I went to this website, I saw the content, I liked it, and I contacted them, and I gave them money, and I paid for the service. Why? The person building this website can be nice, can be fine, but it's not serving the purpose. It might not be providing value, right? I'm looking for something that's taking me ages. So information architecture, I love this very nice description. Okay, so let's go through more. So why do I need information architecture? You need a what? Well-organized site. Because this is very key. You want people to be able to find out information fast and swiftly, right? You want the website to be an intuitive kind of website. You don't want a website where people are going to spend ages to like design or build, or rather consume. So you want a situation whereby whatever language you are using, that is not the issue here. We are trying to say, okay, how do you make sure that there is a good appeal where people get to the website? Okay, so if you need to create a very awesome information architecture for your site or for your web project, you need to first do what? Define key stakeholders, like I pointed out. So a stakeholder is going to be anybody that is going to be impacted, anybody that's going to be influenced, anybody. So let me just point that out. So stakeholders, impacted, influence, anybody that can influence, anybody that is interested, anybody that now, even when we say impacted, somebody can feel that I might be impacted. The person should be considered and information should be provided for that particular person on the website. If somebody is going to have, this is where regulators come in, regulators, right? Now you see that, let's say the SDG programs or regulators are going to be, you want to tell your users that, see, we have influence, we have affiliation, we have accreditation from so and so and so and so. So those people have influence over what you do. Let's say if you are ISO maybe 9001 compliant, or you are whatever kind of compliance that you hold, those regulators, those people have influence on what you do, right? So if they are checking, it's like these people, from their framework, they can say how we should do things and how we shouldn't do things. Then you might have people that also that are interested, right? Somebody is interested in looking up for information on your website. The person wants to download something. The person wants to purchase something. The person wants to partner with you. So all of these persons, you categorize them as stakeholders. And of course, the stakeholders can be primary and they can also be secondary, right? Audiences that are not so important, that are important but are not so critical. So who needs to use the website? It should be optimized for them. Okay, so I'm just trying to pick out some important points. Then there's what we call functional and non-functional requirements. Functional requirements, non-functional requirements. Now, take for instance, if you need to build a particular type of website, there's going to be something that we call key. And there is this there's this stuff we call must have, should have, could have, must have, should have, could have, and would have, right? So we call it the Moscow prioritization. So if you are building a website, if you are planning your information architecture, you always want to ask yourself, in building the site, what are those things that are like must have? This image is not so nice. Let me look for, okay, this is nice. So must-haves are going to be non-negotiable requirements. Let's say they say, build a site for an e-learning system, e-learning platform. You must have login system. You must have register, right? You must have forgot password. Those things are must-have. You must have a way for the person to pay. You must have a way for the person to access his code. Those things are must-haves. You cannot say you want to detect whether it's going to be a what's it called, whether it's going to be something that the user is going to need or not need, right? Okay, so we're trying to look at Moscow prioritization. So if you need to do your information architecture, so you should be asking, what are your must have, your should have, your could have features of your website, then will not have. And you know, this have something to do also with the budget you have for the project. A $100 website, a $300 website, a $1,000 website cannot have the same must-have. You cannot expect to have a must-have of a $10,000 website on a $50 website. It's not possible. So it's not tied to your budget. What is a must you should have and the rest. So let's use ChatGPT to get a sample. Moscow. Let's have a table for Moscow requirements of an e-learning management system for a small business. Let's say for a website of under $1,000. Right? So let's have a table for Moscow requirements of an e-learning management system for a small business, let's say of a website. I need it in a table format and summarized, right? I don't want so much details. So let's see what we're going to have. So if we're going to build a what's it called? Okay, so it didn't understand Moscow, right? So okay, so Moscow, I meant must have, should have, could have, and would have. Let's have a table. Are you there? So it's still not getting it very well. Okay, I think it's getting it. Okay, must have user-friendly interface. Are you there? So description, intuitive. Okay, can you list all the must have together and they should have together and so on in a quadrant. All right, I need it in a quadrant. The guy did not understand what quadrant means. Okay, so a tried must have is listed them, right? Cost creation tools. So you cannot build a learning management system and the admin cannot create the content, create the course, upload the course, put the presentation, put the quizzes. There must be a way for somebody to know what's his progress, his student activities, what he has enrolled for and what he has not enrolled for, right? So those things are must have. So if you check during your research, if you check quite a lot of websites, you're going to see those features. Then what I should have, of course, mobile responsiveness. So mobile responsiveness is not as a must. That's why you see some sites, they have a web version and they have a mobile version. So if you want to actually enjoy the mobile responsiveness, they tell you to go download the mobile app, right? Because it might be difficult for them to infuse a lot of their features to be adaptive to both mobile and web. Some websites don't even have the core functions of the website on web. They have it on a mobile phone. Their website is just for information purpose. If you need to use the application, go and download the mobile app, right? So collaboration, so could have, would have. So this is going to give you an idea about when we say functional, right? Functional and non-functional requirements. So functional requirements are those things that are very, very necessary. So non-functional are those things that we can actually do later on. They are not tied to the actual core of that particular website. Okay, let me see if there's anything. You also need to understand the user's goals and their expectations. Very, very necessary in designing your information architecture. At times, if it's a larger project, you might need to do some interviews, right? With respect to the personas, with respect to the audiences, with respect to the different persons that are going to be using those websites, right? So that you can actually create something that they are going to love, something that's going to be intuitive. Okay, I think I've covered most of the important aspects. Like this is a persona, this is a person. So what the person will want on the website and what the person will want to see and the rest. So you can create that. Okay. So I think I've touched most of the areas I would need to. I want to touch on what information architecture is are how to plan your content, the different content types, and the need for research, and the need for having a sitemap, a wireframe before your what's it called? Before your website mockup or before your website template.